Welcome, everybody, to Live Life with Sean. I'm your host, Sean Higgins. I'm a lifelong information security technology expert with a passion for speaking, coaching, and writing. In this podcast, I'm going to talk to you about what's going on in my life. And I hope by me talking about it, about what's going on in my life, it will help you with whatever you're going through. Please, if you enjoy this content, please share it, subscribe it, like it, and or leave a comment or question, as this will help others find this podcast. I am grateful and thankful for you joining me. And this week, I'd like to talk about March Madness. And I think as I was reflecting upon March Madness, mainly because it's this week, it starts Friday instead of Thursday this week due to COVID. But as I was thinking and reflecting about March Madness, one of the first questions that came to me is why sports? First off, I grew up playing sports as a family with friends. And yes, I always wanted to win at everything that I did. But for me, it became more about just playing the game and doing your best and being around a group of people that did the same. And I hope that when I was coaching, which I did for many years, I hope that I instilled that into the players that were playing. Yeah, you play to win, but after the game is over and it's done and you move on. So sports is just intertwined. I love sports. I am a person who prefers to watch sports with other people. Yeah, I'll watch sports on my own. It's not the same, though usually I'm watching a sporting event to, help me doze out and have a little nap on a weekend afternoon. Um, but when it comes to the NCAA tournament, again, just being with people. Why? And I prefer the NCAA over the NBA because to me, the NCAA feels like more of a team game. And for many of these players, this is the highest form of basketball they will ever play. They're in the NCAA for a limited time. I mean, you can only play an NCAA sport for 4 years. And after that, you move on to the rest of your life. So it's fun to watch some of them grow. Um, the NCAA tournament, I think it's one of the most fascinating things. It's a one and done tournament. You start with 68 teams, and every game you play to win. And if you win, you move on. If you don't, you go home. And it's not so much about the winners or losers. Yeah, I like to root for my team, the Purdue University. But it's about some of the stories that come up, and some of them are so interesting and so different. One that started in '98. Sorry, in cheapers. In 2018 was the story of Sister Jean and the Chicago Loyola Ramblers. Sister Jean is their chaplain, and in 2018, the team made their first NCAA tournament. Sister Jean is their chaplain. She would pray with the team before the games, and she would just, be an inspirational person for them, and really wishing for the best for her players and the team. And in 2018, she was 98 years old, and her team became one of the Cinderella stories of the tournament. They reached the Final Four. She became a national figure at that time. She had her own bobblehead. It wasn't, she didn't produce it. Somebody else produced it, but she used the money and donated it to her charities. And as I was looking into it, her bobblehead was the top selling bobblehead until Dr. Fucci this year. Just a very interesting fact. This year, she's 101, and her Ramblers have made the tournament again for the second time. And again, she's in the news. I, it's just the story of a small team coming into a tournament, doing some extra things, the pull of a sister who's praying for them, who is in her latter stages. I mean, 98 when she first, this year she's 101. And you get stories like that. You get the first round of the tournament, which is my favorite part of the tournament, because in the first 2 days, there are 16 games every day, and there's always a close one, always a challenger for an upset, and there's usually an upset or two along the way. And it's just amazing, and it's long days, but and I have over the past few years taken the first 2 days, which was normally a Thursday and a Friday, off just to enjoy the basketball. The second 2 days is 8 games each, and again, it's still a lot of closeness, a lot of challenges, some upsets along the way. You never know who's going to be the Cinderella, the team that you didn't expect to move forward and move on. One thing that and I've always enjoyed it, the first 2 rounds, and one of the things that I realized a lot of years ago is that every 2 to 4 years, the tournament is in Buffalo, New York, which is about an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on the border crossing, to go. And that's where they would hold the first 2 rounds, one of the sites. And I would always watch the tournament and then see it, and it's like, oh man, I should have gone to Buffalo. Why didn't I plan for it? Why didn't I prepare for it? And why am I not there? And then I realized that in 2010, it was going to be back in Buffalo again, and I prepared that year. I had looked years ahead to say, okay, where's the tournament going to be? Is it going to be in Buffalo? Oh, it's going to be in 2010. And then I planned and asked my parents if they wanted to come, and they said yes. Asked my sister and my 2 brothers. My sister came, one of my brothers came, and a friend of mine who I always played basketball with, he wanted to come as well. He was a good friend and neighbor. And I even bought the tickets as soon as they went on sale in December of 2009. And I was excited to go, to bring the people together. And about a week before the tournament, my father calls me and says, we can't come. It's too expensive. We just can't afford to come. And I said, okay, Dad, all right. And I sat with that answer for a while, and I just got so upset that because of the cost, he wasn't going to come. And I remember driving to a client engagement that I had the following morning, getting there early, and then calling him and saying, you know what, Dad, you got to come. I want you to be there. I will figure out a way for you to come. Don't worry about it. And I just said, I just want you there with me. I just want you there. It turns out, I was telling my brother about this. He goes, hey, we got this 2-for-1 ticket that we're not going to use. It expires in a couple of weeks. We could use it. And we used it to fly my parents up to the game. It was a great weekend, long weekend, because the first round is long hours. I mean, it was first game kicked off at noon and wrapped up 11 or 12 o'clock at night. We had a great time. You play 2 games, you get a break, play 2 more games. In that break, we tailgated in the parking lot. My brother brought a barbecue. That was great. I mean, I had just thought about bringing sandwiches, but my brother thought ahead and had this little barbecue. It was great because we barbecued right there. It's good food. And it was a really good time. One of the things with sports is you have that long time that you're with people. You can enjoy the games and to see the passion of the players on the floor. But you also have that time in between where you start having those other conversations. How is the family doing? What are other things going on? And little did we know that at the end of 2010, we would lose my mother. And to think back that this is one of the last events where, as a family, as just brothers and sisters and parents, we got together was was uh, was an amazing weekend, and I'm glad that I put my foot down and told my father, "Get your butt up here. I want you here. I want you to experience this with me." Not knowing that, what would happen would happen. The following year, 2011, after we lost my mother, my father's team, the Yukon Huskies, made it to the Final Four. And I just decided that, you know what? They're in the Final Four. I'm going to go down and visit my father. It was the first time that I had visited my father since my mother passed away. It was different. I mean, it was just him and I, you know, missed missed my mother. He talked about his grief and the things he was doing. And he also talked about a certain woman. He didn't call her his girlfriend, but he said, yeah, we'd go and have dinner together once in a while after our grief sessions, and we both buy. He made it clear we each paid for ourselves. But that was beginning of him getting a girlfriend, him starting to move on. It was good to see. He did admit he was still struggling with my mother's grief, but he also was doing something about it. And he says, you know what, sometimes you just gotta work your way through it. And it was a good weekend for us. We watched UConn win in the semis, and then we watched UConn win in the finals. And I just I just don't remember my father ever being this kid-like. Yeah, I've seen him be excited, and but he was like a kid that like he had won the lottery. He was so excited. It was so funny. He decided he had to go to his friend, his neighbor, and soap up his car windows, just putting on the car window Yukon 1 or Yukon number 1. It was so funny because the neighbor lived a block or so away. To watch my father basically skip all the way down to my neighbors was just amazing. It was a great, great weekend. The next time the tournament was back in Buffalo was 2014. And this was a time when I was just starting to start my crazy travel to Las Vegas. I had been to one of the other casinos out in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, been to Vegas to say, hey, we should do some more work for you. And it took them a little while to figure out, okay, let's get going. And uh, I had asked my brother and sister and my friend to go. My brother and sister dropped out at the last moment. That's okay. Stuff comes up and they couldn't come. But Vegas said, let's get going. And we started the week before the tournament started. And I was clear with them. I can't be there a whole week. I can be there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but Thursday, Friday, I'm off. And I planned it. So I took the red eye home from Vegas. So I landed at 6 a.m., got home by 7:30 or so. I think I said hello and goodbye to my daughter as she was leaving for school. I showered, stopped for some food, and went to pick up my friend because we were both going, and asked him if he could drive. I said, "Look, I just took the red eye home, and I don't think I'd be a good person to drive." And I figured that maybe I'd get some sleep, but I didn't sleep at all. It was because of the conversations, the conversations going down, what's going on in his life. He was my neighbor, but you don't always find the time to get together. And um, we enjoyed the games together. There were some very exciting games. This is, one of the things with the NCAA tournament, you never know where a team is going to play. And when I pick Buffalo because of the location and I can get there easily. And I'm never concerned about who's going to play there. In 2014, we got to watch my father's team, the Yukon Huskies, play. And they played, and in their first game, they hit a three-pointer at the buzzer to tie the game to send it to overtime. They won in overtime. And then in their second game, they played just well enough to win. And I remember the drive back from that, talking to my friend saying, yeah, man, I can't believe that UConn made it out. They weren't a highly ranked team. They didn't seem to, they just seemed to play just well enough to win. And sometimes that's all it takes. I mean, it's a one and done. You just have to get at the right spot at the right time. And I was talking to my friend and we're saying, yeah, that's probably as far as they're going to go. I think they overplayed, they played further than they should have in the first two rounds. But they went on to win the national championship. And I remember being in Vegas, because this is when I started a crazy rotation in Vegas, being in Vegas, watching the game, knowing that my father was watching it, kind of a little sad that I wasn't there to watch it with him. And this is one of those things where sometimes I put work in front of getting together, but I never really expected you kind of get there. And I enjoyed watching that final game from Vegas. The next time the NCAA tournament was in Buffalo was 2017. It was the year after my father had passed away. And I think this was the first time that my sister and brother and I had gotten together. There wasn't family. We weren't dealing with something for my father. And again, it was a great trip. I have lots of pictures from that trip, and I don't know why I don't have pictures from the other trips. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention to taking pictures back then. But these pictures, every once in a while, show up on my phone, and I just remember the fun that we had. Again, the games, but the talks, the driving, the just spending time together. The following 2 years, 2018, 2019, my sister decided she would just come to visit me, and we would watch the games together. And I remember watching some of those games and having some pretty deep conversations about our parents. About some of the things that were said and unsaid, during the times when my mother was sick and my father wasn't doing well. And it was good. It was it was a lot of time to spend together. I know that I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think my sister enjoyed getting away and spending the time. And one of those years, 2018, this is one of those times where you don't think about it, but Purdue got selected to play, and luckily they've played for many years in a row. They were playing in Detroit, and I think it was on a Friday, because I remember my sister flying in on the Thursday, and I said, "Guess what? We're going. Bring your, be ready, because we're going to Detroit on Friday. I got some tickets. We're going." Drove down and got there early. It was a good weekend. I tried to invite my brother to come. He bailed at the last. He just said, "Nah, I can't go because of work." And it was funny because we were in Detroit. We were at a bar just killing time before the game, and happened to catch on the TV that the NCAA wrestling tournament was on. And my sister goes, "Oh yeah, that tournament's in Cleveland." And it's like, Cleveland, that's just a few hours from Detroit. And talk to my brother afterwards and talk about missed opportunities. he could have come to Detroit. I mean, he put work over doing this trip, and I didn't blame him for it. But sometimes you just wonder, why are you doing things? And he had put work over coming to visit us in Detroit, but then realized afterwards that he and his son should have come up, gone to the game, and then gone to Cleveland to watch the NCAA wrestling tournament. His son was at that time just getting into wrestling, and actually, it turns out that our former wrestling coach from high school, who works for ESPN, happened to be producing the wrestling tournament in Cleveland. So didn't plan for any of that. Neither of us made it to Cleveland, but I mean, it was just, some missed opportunities. But, again, the sports that brings us together. Last year, I enjoyed my sister coming up to see me, but I also enjoyed going and being in that environment, going to the games. So I sat down and took a look at where the games were and found that the games were in Greensboro, North Carolina. It's a little bit further of a drive. It's about 2.5, 3 hours from my brother's place. And, I couldn't get him to 100% commit right away. But I think early in February, no, it wasn't February, it was earlier than that. So I think in January, I got him to commit. And this is, before we really knew what was going on with COVID. He committed. He said, "Let's do it. Let's go." I said, "Look, I know it's a little far away. It's a long day. Maybe we can find a hotel so we don't have to drive back in the early hours." And he was committed to it. I found us some tickets. I uh, booked my flight, and right before the tournament was supposed to start is when everything went onto lockdown. It was about the 14th or 15th that the World Health Organization declared a pandemic. I still held out hope that the tournament was going to go on. At that point, um, I think the NBA canceled right away. I think the NHL canceled right away, or shortly thereafter. The conference tournaments leading up to the NCAA tournament were being held. But I remember that Purdue was on the floor getting ready to play its game, and I think they were playing Ohio State. And this, I think, was a Thursday or a Friday. I don't remember specifically, but they're getting ready to play, and all of a sudden everything gets shut down. They pull everybody off the court, and COVID happens. It was sad that, I wasn't able to get together with my brother and sister to do this. I don't get to see them as often as I would like, but I understood it was COVID, and, not many people knew what was going to happen. I think shutting down was a prudent step to take, at least until they figured out what was going on. Took many months before any sports played again, and there were some hiccups and some issues, and people were figuring out how it all went together. I'm glad to see that sports is back, and a lot of the professional sports it's a lot about money. Actually, money is involved in sports anywhere. But I also think that sports sports is good for people. It gives them something to talk about, something to root about. It's like, when you're rooting for a team, it's like you're a part of that family. And you feel for that family, whether they win or they lose, somebody gets injured, somebody gets traded, you feel for it. And if you connect with other people over sports, it's like you've just expanded your family. It's given you something more to talk about, giving you something more to get up for. And I think that, when COVID started, we lost all of that. We were told to stay home. Um, Everybody moved to working from home, and just not having the sports made it that much harder. And some people don't get sports, and that's fine. But for some people, it helps them get through the day. Get up in the morning. Oh, my team's playing tonight. Great, get to watch the game. Oh, they did terrible. Let me go talk about what we think they should do to change the team, how they should play better, or so and so didn't show up that game, or whatever it is. It just gives you something to talk about. And I think that that's what's important for me with sports, is bringing people together. It does bring me together. I enjoy them. I enjoy the storylines. I enjoy the passion of the games. This year, I yeah, there's all the NCAA tournaments can be held in Indiana. Matter of fact, a couple of the first round games will be held at my alma mater, Purdue, in their arena. And man, I would have loved to have been able to go. They're letting in 25% fans, but I would have been there if I could. I mean, I'm not going to push COVID. I would have visited some of my good friends that are still at Purdue. It would have been great to see them. Would have been great to enjoy the games with them too. I know the the husband loves sports. The wife, she can't do, she could do without it, but it's great to see them and spend time with them. So this year I'll be doing it virtually. At least I'm going to attempt to do it virtually. I know my sister has tomorrow off. The games start tonight. I don't know if we'll do anything virtually tonight or not, but tomorrow we'll definitely be ready as the games start in earnest at noon. And it'll be different, but it'll be good to get back, to get back into this, to get back and to see the players, to see who's going to be the upset winner. Uh, we also have a pool between myself, my sister, one of my brothers, and he gets his kids to join, and my friend who has been to Buffalo with me many a time. He joins as well. I think the last time in 2019, my niece won because she was the only one to predict Virginia, which happened to be the state they live in, to go all the way and win the championship. And I think she won only because they won the tournament. And it was fun. It was fun. I can't remember how good or bad I did. I think I was out of the running after the first or second weekend, but it's always fun. And we'll see. We'll see where it goes. Thank you. Thank you for joining me today on Live Life with Sean. And look, if you'd like to book some time to talk to me, just go to my website. Go to SeanCHiggins.com, go to the Connect with Sean page, and just fill out your information. We'll set up a time, we'll just talk. I know that COVID's been hard, and if you need somebody to talk to, I'm here. I love to talk to people, love to hear what's going on, so let me know. If you enjoyed this show, please share it, subscribe it, like it, and or leave a comment or question, as this will help others find this podcast. And I appreciate and enjoy all the comments and that I've had about the show. I'm always surprised and grateful when somebody comes up and says, "Hey, I listened to that show." Thank you for those comments. Keep them coming. Keep reaching out to me. Tell me if you enjoyed the show. Tell me if you feel differently. I'm okay with that. And until next time, have a wonderful week.